Young generations are now poorer than their parents, and it's changing our economies. We may be facing the biggest unequal distribution of wealth in the history of the world, but the issue does not lay with the standard of rich versus the poor. Rather, it is a question of the old versus the young. Hey guys! Recent estimates from the Federal Reserve indicate that, collectively, millennials control approximately 6.6% of the total household wealth in the United States in 2022. The baby boomer generation controls 50.4% of the total, which is significantly more than any other demographic. During this time, assets like real estate have gone out of reach for millennials, making it impossible for them to accumulate wealth in the same manner as their parents did. So why is this happening? In the past, young people could rely on their parents to help them get started in life. But now, things are different. Young people are now poorer than their parents, and this is having a major impact on our economy. There are a number of reasons for this. The cost of living has increased significantly over the past few decades, while wages have remained relatively stagnant. This means that young people today have less purchasing power than their parents did at their age. The rising cost of housing, healthcare, education, and other essential goods and services has put a strain on many young adults and families. Many are struggling to make ends meet, and some are even resorting to living in their cars or on the streets. In addition, wages have stagnated, while the cost of education and healthcare has continued to rise. This has made it very difficult for young people to get ahead financially. Another reason why young generations are now poorer than their parents is the automation of jobs. With the advent of technology, many jobs that were once done by human beings are now being done by machines. This has led to a decrease in the demand for labor, and as a result, wages have stagnated or declined. Young people are especially vulnerable to these changes, as they are less likely to have the skills needed to compete for the remaining jobs. This has contributed to increased inequality and poverty, as well as a decline in social mobility. Additionally, the job market is much more competitive. There are more job seekers than there are jobs available. This means that employers can be more selective when it comes to hiring. They often prefer to hire older, more experienced workers. Inflation is another major reason why younger generations remain poorer than their parents. When prices for everyday goods and services increase, the purchasing power of a fixed income decreases. This is especially difficult for younger generations who are still in the process of establishing themselves financially. They typically have less income and fewer assets than their parents, so they are less able to weather the effects of inflation. This can lead to a vicious cycle of poverty that is passed down from one generation to the next. Additionally, having difficult economic conditions during the formative years can have a lasting impact on a person's future prospects and earnings potential. The tax burden is also another issue. It has shifted from older generations to younger generations. This is largely due to the fact that older generations are increasingly retired and living on fixed incomes, while younger generations are still in the workforce and earning wages. This means that younger generations are carrying a larger share of the tax burden, which leaves them with less money to save and invest. In addition, the cost of living has risen faster than wages in recent years, which has also contributed to the economic insecurity of young people. A major effect would be that younger generations would be less likely to be able to afford a home. The cost of housing has been rising faster than income for some time, and this is unlikely to change in the near future. This is especially true in large metropolitan areas where housing costs have been rising the fastest. If younger generations are less able to afford a home, they will be less likely to form new households, which would lead to slower growth in the demand for housing. This would in turn lead to slower growth in construction activity and related industries, such as furniture and appliances. The reduced demand for housing would also have ripple effects on other sectors of the economy. For example, it would lead to less demand for automobiles, since people are less likely to move if they own a home. This would lead to slower growth in the auto industry and related sectors such as steel and glass. Another important sector that would be affected by slower growth in the demand for housing is the financial sector. Mortgage lenders, real estate agents, and others would all see their businesses contract if fewer people are buying and selling homes. This would lead to job losses in the financial sector, which would further reduce consumer spending and economic activity. In addition to the direct effects on specific sectors, there would also be indirect effects on the economy as a whole. For example, slower growth in the construction industry would lead to fewer jobs for unskilled workers. This could lead to an increase in crime as people turn to illegal activities to make ends meet. Additionally, it could lead to social unrest and political instability as people become increasingly frustrated with their economic situation. Moreover, younger generations would have less money to spend on goods and services, leading to lower demand and slower economic growth. If younger generations are unable to buy homes or make other large purchases, this would further reduce demand and economic activity. In the long run, this could lead to higher levels of inequality and less social mobility, as well as more debt and financial instability. Additionally, it would mean that there would be less money available for investment. This would lead to fewer new businesses being started and fewer jobs being created. This would have a ripple effect throughout the economy, as fewer people would have money to spend on goods and services. The result would be less economic growth and a lower standard of living for everyone. In addition, the government would have less revenue to invest in education, infrastructure, and other important public goods. This would further reduce economic growth and make it harder for people to get ahead. The trend of younger generations being poorer than their parents would also lead to more crime. Desperate people are more likely to turn to crime in order to make ends meet. This would make our communities less safe and further reduce economic activity. The implications of this trend are far-reaching and significant. If younger generations are unable to achieve the same level of economic success as their parents, it could lead to increased inequality, social unrest, and political instability. It could also lead to slower economic growth and a lower standard of living for everyone. In addition, the government would have less revenue to invest in education, infrastructure, and other important public goods. This would further reduce economic growth and make it harder for people to get ahead. This trend also has implications for intergenerational mobility. If young people are unable to move up the economic ladder, it will become increasingly difficult for them to improve their lot in life. This could lead to increased poverty and inequality, as well as decreased social mobility. In the long run, this trend could have a detrimental effect on our economy and our society as a whole. It is therefore imperative that we take steps to address this issue. There are a number of possible solutions to this problem. One solution is to increase the minimum wage. This would give young people more money to spend, which would help to increase demand and economic activity. Additionally, it would help to reduce inequality and poverty, as well as improve social mobility. Another solution is to invest in education and training programs. This would help young people to acquire the skills needed to compete for the jobs of the future. Additionally, it would provide them with the knowledge and resources needed to start their own businesses. This would increase entrepreneurship and job creation, as well as economic growth. Governments could also start programs to provide more support for families with children. This could include subsidized childcare, paid parental leave, and other measures. This would help to ease the financial burden on young families and allow them to better afford the costs of raising children. Additionally, it would provide parents with more time to spend with their children, which would improve child development and well-being. These are just a few of the possible solutions to this problem. It is clear that we are in the process of a large intergenerational shift. Young people are increasingly economically disadvantaged relative to their parents and grandparents. If things keep moving in this direction, our economies will look very different in the future. What are your thoughts? Are boomers to blame for this catastrophic sequence of events for millennials? Tell me in the comments section below. Additionally, if you're new to this channel, I strongly encourage you to subscribe and click the like button. You can also keep up with all of my most recent videos. See you in the next one.